Alright, so here's a build I put together for this week's Master Crota's End Challenge, which is for the Ute encounter. I am on Warlock here, so this is obviously a Warlock build. And as you can see, this is kind of 100% playing into support with Cenotaph Mask and Divinity. You will see the unedited gameplay at the end of this build overview. You will hear my comms. You will not hear my teammates' comms because, well, I just don't include I don't include party chat in my video recordings. But I was recording my own, so every now and then you'll hear me pipe in about something. But yeah, the gameplay will be after the build. So I am using a double loadout setup here, as I normally do for most boss encounters now for dungeons and raids. This is just something that I've gotten into the habit of doing since loadouts now are accessible to console players, and it is very easy just to press options and go over to one of these two loadouts and swap. And I save these two grayed out slots here specifically for that purpose. And there's a reason for that, because the top loadouts, like these 4 slots here, are going to be the quickest loadouts for you to swap to. So like when I press options, press options, then I press left on the D-pad, and look where my cursor is. It is right here on the first slot. And then it takes that long to go down there. So imagine you press options, you press left on your D-pad. Look, I just screwed up my icon. I really wish they would fix the fix this interface so that you can easily change. Like now I have to press this like I don't even know how many times, and then I'm probably going to go past the solar icon again and then have to go back and re-go through it. This is super annoying. Okay, there we go. Anyways, but yeah, my point is that this is servers. Oh my gosh, the servers said no. It's stasis now. Yeah, it takes too long to go down here. Is basically all I'm saying. You want to, when you swap your loadouts, you want to do it as fast as you can, because obviously you're breaking immersion with the game to go to your menu. You don't know what's going on in the game. Go to your loadout, swap it. You want it to be very fast, and then exiting back into the game so that you can, not die. Which means it's also a good idea to plan out when you're going to swap your loadouts. Be somewhere safe. Do it during an animation, like during a finisher, or during a super cast, or some kind of animation. Or, yeah, just do it when it makes sense. Like, don't go into a pack of enemies and pick a fight and then decide that you're going to swap your loadout right then and there, right? Just be smart about it is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, the master version of Crota's End. So as far as the challenge goes for Ute, the challenge is basically to never touch the chalice before everyone else has touched the chalice. It means that you need to pick a sequence, and normally what you would do is like in an LFG run, this is what this is. This is an LFG run. I don't think anybody's in the same clan or knew each other. We just went off of the sequence in the roster. So, for example, if I'm player 5, then I will always take the chalice from player number 4, and player number 6 will always take the chalice from me. So it's very easy to remember to do the challenge correctly, because all you got to do is just always take from the same person. It doesn't matter who's killing the wizards. It doesn't matter who's expunging. It doesn't matter who's preserving. I mean, obviously you want to plan that stuff out to do the encounter successfully, but to just do the challenge, you just need to take the chalice in sequence. That's it. That's all there is. Has nothing to do with enlightenment or anything. It's just passing the chalice. So pretty straightforward, and therefore, like, the real challenge is just completing your Ute encounter on master difficulty. But there are some ways to bypass a lot of that challenge. Because as many of you know, there's a couple cheeses. One is that you can grab the chalice before starting the encounter by jumping up to the ceiling and grabbing the chalice, and then you can pass the chalice around between your teammates, get everybody enlightened basically, and then you just go start the encounter. So that's the first cheese. Otherwise, you would have to start the encounter, go up the stairs into the rooms. You'd have to kill all the knights. Then you'd have to kill the shriekers when they open up. When the shrieker on left and right are down, then it opens up the center room, which is where the chalice is. And then you grab the chalice and start enlightening everybody. So cheese number 1 bypasses that entire aspect of the encounter, which honestly, I wish Bungie would fix it, because although it makes the encounter, much less threatening and easier, it's a cheese. It's kind of an exploit. It doesn't feel like it's an intended way to play the encounter, and I personally just prefer playing raids and challenging content as it's intended, like, with the challenge there. But either way, so when you're doing LFG, this is most players are just going to default to whatever the most known, most popular cheese is, and that's just going to be the majority vote. So I just go with the flow. Whatever everybody does is fine. So we grab the chalice, we get everybody enlightened, we start the encounter. You can also just go, technically you could cheese grab the chalice and then start the encounter, go straight up to the balcony and pass the chalice around up on top of the balcony, because the enemies basically can't kill you while you're up there anyways. And it takes about 2 to 3 minutes for the witches to spawn. So it actually gives you enough time to pass the chalice around to everybody before the witches even spawn while the encounter's started. So if you want to save a few minutes on your run, then just cheese grab the chalice, start the encounter, go up to the balcony, pass it around. But I think the way we did it here was we didn't do it like that. We just got everybody the chalice and everybody enlightened before even starting the encounter. Then the second cheese to the encounter is, so the thing is, if you open up that center room by killing the shriekers on both sides, then you get all those knights that come out of the doors in the middle, like if you do it normally. Well, on Master, that center room is going, instead of it just spawning yellow bar knights, it's going to spawn anti-barrier champions, like a shitload of them. So yeah, you can actually do this without ever killing the shriekers. So as long as you don't kill the left and right shriekers, as long as you do not open up that center room, then all of those barrier knights will be stuck in there. They won't be able to get out. They won't be able to damage you. You're basically just holding all the champions hostage while you do the encounter, without them being there as a threat. So yeah, that's cheese number 2. That's going to make it all go that much smoother. But even still, because it is Master, your Ute obviously has more health. You're not going to be able to one-phaser unless you're on like a totally cracked out team where everybody just really knows how to do a ton of damage. But generally, like good players using the best weapons, you're going to be two-phasing your Ute. And that's assuming that for the second damage phase, everybody has enough heavy ammo. which is where I come in with this build as a support role to help everybody have enough ammo. Because if you didn't know, Cenotaph Mask steadily reloads a portion of your equipped trace rifle's magazine from reserves. Damaging a vehicle, boss, or champion with a trace rifle marks them as a target. When an ally defeats the marked target, special ammo is generated for you and heavy ammo for your allies. So basically, any trace rifle that you use, you can mark yellow bar targets. When your teammates kill them, they all get heavy ammo. So you can really make a lot of ammo like this, and it gives you special ammo, so it means that you can always have trace rifle ammo. And then not only that is just like one major factor of it, but the other factor is, like it says, it steadily reloads your weapon. So it basically puts reconstruction without the overflow aspect of it. It's like having Actium War Rig on Titan for trace rifles. It's just always reloading. So what this means is, for damage versus Irute as the Divinity player, it means that I can keep the Divinity cage up, or the bubble, on the boss for the entire damage phase. Even if the damage phase is like 45 seconds, which is roughly is, I never have to reload div ever, which is going to make everybody's damage that much more consistent the entire damage phase. So yeah, if you're the Divinity user, then this is basically the meta build to use with Divinity, at least as far as Cenotaph Mask goes. Generally speaking, like if you're a Warlock and you're in a raid, and if there's not like more than 2 Warlocks, then you ought to be on Well of Radiance. That's just the way it is, unfortunately, because Well of Radiance is too strong and players crutch on Well far too much. Titans, Hunters, other Warlocks, they all want to sit in a Well of Radiance and be immune to damage. That is just the way it is. I don't know what else to say about it. But ideally, I would have liked to have been on Arc, because like if there was more than 2 Warlocks, I would have switched to Arc. But I just defaulted to Solar because I knew that using LFG, chances are I would be one of very few Warlocks, and I would likely be the only one with Cenotaph. So, this is just the build that I came up with randomness in mind. But yeah, as far as the weekly surges for master content this week, like pretty much all master PvE activities, are Strand and Arc Surge, right? As well as overcharged weapons, overcharged glaive. That's a non-factor for a boss encounter. But Arc and Strand Surge would have been nice to play into, especially with Divinity, because even though you're on Divinity and you're really not doing a lot of damage, it does feel good if you can do more damage than you normally would with Divinity, I guess. And you can do that by matching your subclass. So if I was Arc, if I was on Stormcaller, then I can use Monochromatic Maestro, which I believe, I wasn't even using here because I'm on Solar. But yeah, I would have gone with Stormcaller. I would have made Arc Souls, so during damage phase there would have been 6 Arc Souls doing damage to the boss, and my Divinity would have been doing like an extra 10% damage on top of triple Arc Weapon Surges from Monochromatic Maestro. So that would have been fun. I would have much preferred using that build, which you can totally do if your team can afford it, if you have enough wells. But Well of Radiance is just generally far too valuable for the entire team. And one way to look at it too is, like, your subclass doesn't really matter that much as far as surges go if you're not on a damage subclass. Like if you're not on a damage build, then the surges are kind of irrelevant, right? And so although the solar subclass in general is very good for damage on various builds, like for Titan and Hunter and even some Warlock builds, it is also very much a 100% support subclass if you build into correctly. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm using healing grenades. I'm using Cure from Phoenix Dive, and I'm using Ember of Benevolence with Ember of Torches. So I'm triple dipping into Benevolence so that I can, whenever I make my teammates Radiant from Ember of Torches using my melee, then I proc Benevolence. Healing my teammates procs Benevolence. Curing them procs Benevolence. So basically I'm just ramping up my uptime on my support style abilities with Ember of Benevolence. If you wanted to, for your swap loadout, like, because I'm using, as I already mentioned, I'm using 2 loadouts here. So when I swap to my damage loadout, I could switch my healing grenade to a fusion grenade, right? And I don't think I did it just because I was more focused on just wanting to have that div cage up for the entire damage phase. But you could, because fusion grenades are a shorter cooldown than healing grenades, you can switch from a healing grenade to a fusion grenade without losing the grenade ability, I believe. But my point here is that because I'm using Ashes and Char, Ashes is going to add 50% more Scorch stacks. Char is going to spread Scorch on ignitions. So if I have a fusion grenade and a celestial fire, those two combined would set off an ignition and spread Scorch and do more Scorch damage. So basically it would just be like my one single damage option for the subclass. But because I didn't even bother switching to fusion grenades for my second loadout, you can feel free to switch Ashes and Char to like whatever you want, honestly. These are just kind of like, they don't really play into the support build per se. It's just Torches, Benevolence, Healing Grenade with Touch of Flame, because Touch of Flame gives you Restoration ×2 on those healing grenades. So technically, Dawnblade has the most powerful healing grenade in the game with Touch of Flame. And then Phoenix Dive to also add Cure into the mix. And it is also a quicker cooldown than a Rift. So it means that I can just spam my dive more often. So yeah. As far as the other weapons that I'm using here, I am using a shoot to loot primary weapon to complement Cenotaph and Divinity, because what this is going to allow me to do, it's going to allow me to stand up on top of the balcony with my teammates, especially during that first initial phase of setting up damage, to mark all the knights to generate heavy ammo for my teammates and special ammo for myself. Well, I don't necessarily want to go down there and risk my life to go get special ammo, or orbs of power for that matter. So, and I definitely do not want to run out of special ammo. That is like the most important thing as far as this build goes, is making sure that you're in control of your generating your own ammo and picking it up, so that when you enter a damage phase, you're not going to be out of div ammo, right? You don't want to be that guy that's using div that doesn't have ammo or always has to reload, because then what's the point of using Divinity? So this build is basically 100% uptime on the Divinity cage, 100% uptime on precision damage for my teammates, and the 15% weakening basic. It's not a void weaken debuff, but it's just a weakening debuff. 15% more damage. All damage to the Divinity cage is critical damage. So yeah, it's super consistent. It is the best way to use Divinity, as far as I know. So yeah, having shoot to loot with explosive payload, those two perks are like peanut butter and jelly, because this allows you to pick up orbs and heavy bricks, special bricks from long range, and you don't even have to be that precise. Just shoot an arrow in the general area of those items, and the explosive area of effect damage from explosive head will pick up all of those units that are near it. So yeah, it's very good, especially since I believe it was just this season where they made it so that explosive head can pick up orbs of power for you. And so part of the principle between the swap loadouts is loadout 1 is to acquire ammo and armor charge. Loadout B is to put that ammo and armor charge to its best use. So all the ammo that I got, I'm obviously going to be using it on my weapon, and I'm going to make my weapon feel as good as I can. So on my damage loadout, like I've got Arc Reloader, not that I ever need to use it because of Cenotaph. I've got Arc Dexterity, Arc Targeting, Arc Unflinching, and then for damage, I've got Triple Arc Weapon Surge mods on my legs with time dilation so that the armor charge stacks that I got during setup will be pushed out to decay at 15 seconds per stack. So I will have 45 seconds of triple arc weapon surges when damage phase starts, because that's when I'm going to swap my loadout without having to pick up another orb of power. And you know that my teammates are going to be casting their supers, they're going to be spawning orbs, so I'm really not going to run out of armor charge. But yeah, that's just generally the principle, like for doing any like dungeon or raid bosses. It's just the best idea is to have two loadouts, especially now that we have loadouts, so that you can do that. The only way that you can do it practically though is you have to have one single yellow armor charge mod on build A. So as you can see here, I'm using Special Finisher on my class item. Normally I would use Healthy Finisher, because what this does is any yellow mod, whether it's on my like anywhere on any armor piece, any yellow mod is going to give armor charge a function, and it's going to hold that armor charge indefinitely until you use it. So if it's like Grenade Kickstart, you can collect 3 orbs, you can get 3 stacks of armor charge, and you can hold on to that armor charge until you throw a grenade. Then it depletes your armor charge, right? I want to be able to use my abilities, so I'm not going to use a Kickstart mod. So I'll use a Finisher mod instead. But Healthy Finisher, when you do a Finisher with armor charge, it only consumes 1 stack of armor charge. So it means that you don't have to stress out about losing all of your armor charge by doing a finisher on an enemy. Which the intent behind having these mods isn't to use them; it's just to collect armor charge. It's just to give armor charge a function so that you can get it. Because if you don't have any yellow or blue mods on your armor, you're never going to get armor charge. You pick up an orb, you get nothing. You get no armor charge. But yeah, Healthy Finisher is the only one that only consumes 1 armor charge when you use it, so it's just very practical for that reason. And if you do need to use it, it could save your life. So it's just a good option. But a better option for this build is Special Finisher, even though it consumes all 3 stacks of armor charge, because even though I can generate quite a lot of special ammo by having Special Ammo Finder, by using Cenotaph to mark targets, that's all that stuff is going to generate special ammo for me, and I'll be able to pick up that ammo with my bow. But because I'm marking targets so frequently with Divinity, I am using quite a bit of ammo as well. So having the Special Ammo Finisher is a nice backup, and I definitely did make use of it. As long as I can get my armor charge efficiently, which I can do so easily with Reaper, so I just have to Phoenix Dive, shoot a red bar acolyte. That's going to spawn an orb. Shoot the orb with my bow, or use my machine gun, because keep in mind, if you're using this build, then your heavy weapon is just free. It's just whatever you want to use here. You can use something for ad clear or for burst damage, but I'm not going to be using it on the boss because I want to 100% focus on having the uptime on divinity for my teammates. So I'm using a machine gun that matches the surge, so it's matching arc surge, with arc siphon. So I can just do a whole bunch of ad clear and make a whole bunch of orbs and pick them up with my bow, or run over them, pick them up. So I can easily get 3 stacks of armor charge in between damage phases, and then all I have to do is find an enemy to go and finish, and then boom, I get like 200 special ammo. So it's having special ammo finisher is it's very, very effective. You're gonna use it. And I would use it if I were you, because yeah, like I said, if you're the div guy, you don't want to be like, oh hey, I'm out of div, by the way, sorry, halfway through damage phase, right? So yeah, so it's twofold for special ammo finisher. It is useful, and it gives armor charge a function, so that when I switch to my damage loadout, now my divinity is doing 25% more damage as well, which is, it's divinity, so it's not going to be doing big damage, but at least it's going to be doing 25% more damage. And then, like I said, if you have enough wells on your team, then be on Stormcaller, give everybody an Arc Soul, use Monochromatic Maestro, and then divinity is going to be doing even more damage. But yeah, that's basically the build. Don't think I left anything out. Leave me some questions if you have any. This is what I got as my second Adept Fang of Ute. It's got shoot to loot, which is okay, but unfortunately this thing does not roll with explosive payload, so there's no real synergy with shoot to loot, like there is on many other weapons like Hung Jury and a lot of combat. I think pretty much every precision combat bow, and even the lightweight one that I'm using, Felterra Diddle, they all have shoot to loot and explosive payload or explosive head. Unfortunately, this scout rifle doesn't, so I'm not sure how I feel on shoot to loot for it. Kill clip's not bad, but especially with reload. But yeah, anyways, I'm probably not going to do anything with this one, unfortunately. But I mean, the whole purpose of doing this challenge is to, hopefully get that god roll that you can't get from crafting one. That's going to be RNG, and these adept weapons will be slightly better than the non-adept crafted variants, because you can enhance the perks. So yeah, anyways, yeah, I'll leave you to the gameplay. It's only about 7 minutes long. I think we 2-phased it on this one. I've already done the run on my Titan, so I will put up a Titan video soon as well. And I've yet to do it on my Hunter, but I will put something up for that as well. So I will see you in the next one. Take care.
Yeah, let's just go. Just go straight to the top. I'll mark all the knights. Knight on right. Knight on left. Knight in middle. Knight on left. Got it. It's gonna be like a few seconds after the last person gets enlightened. Okay, grab it, Wolf. Expunging. Go. Yes. Go. I don't have div on yet. I gotta do it once more on my hunter, so I'm back out. Alright, GG's guys. Thank you.